But the season has officially ended. And we know who got married and who didn't.
Right.
And of the couples who made it out of the pod, only one of them got married, which I think is a record for Love is Blind, that only one couple. Record lowest. I think only one couple got married. Only two made it down the aisle. One actually got married, which is crazy. But I am just going to highlight 3 of the most notable moments and couples in this season, and we're going to talk about it. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
The first couple that we're going to talk about is my absolute least favorite for a number of reasons, but we're going to talk about Laura, who decided that she was going to get engaged to Jeramey. So Jeramey was actually in between 2 women in the pod. He was into Miss Laura, but he was also into Miss Sarah Ann. They get out of the pod, both Jeramey and Laura, after getting engaged. Right. But somehow Jeramey just can't keep his life together. He can't just stay with Laura and make your stuff kind of work. So he ends up going out one night and encountering Miss Sarah Ann, who was his other love in the pod.
Now, is this by chance?
No. I mean, it's supposed to be by chance, but he says it's by chance. She just happens to be there. Who knows the truth? We don't know for sure how it happened, but what we do know for sure is that Jeramey decides to stay out until 5 a.m. talking to Sarah Ann about their relationship because closure was needed.
Where was he talking with her? And this is a pointed question. Where did he say that he was talking with her?
He told his fiancée Laura that he was talking to her in the parking lot of the bar. You know, they were just talking at 5 a.m.
In the parking lot of a bar.
In the parking lot of the bar until 5 a.m. And he said, look, I even shared my location with you, Laura, so you wouldn't have to worry. I shared my location. And Laura's like, well, actually, your location by way of your Apple Watch says that you were across town at the girl's apartment. And truth be told, that's exactly where he was, ladies and gents. So Jeramey's a liar. And we find out Jeramey to be a liar. But one thing that I want to know about Jeramey that we should have known he was a scammer, because every time you saw Jeramey, he had on glasses and a full-on baseball cap in the house every single episode that you saw him.
He did. That made me uncomfortable.
Didn't it?
How are you in a house, in your house?
Your own house.
And you got a cap on like you out in the streets.
Like it's giving very much I'm hiding from myself.
It's giving the guy from You.
It's giving Joe from You. He looks like Joe from You.
Yeah. That's very suspicious, y'all.
I like it.
Watch out. They're wearing a hat all day.
Yeah.
They got shades on.
Yeah.
I think this is the ultimate combo. And I may hurt some feelings.
Okay.
Hat. Right? Shades. Beard.
Oh, what are we even looking at? What are we even looking at?
You got to watch out for those.
Absolutely, because what are we looking at? Who are you?
You're just a nose and a mouth.
You're a nose and a mouth, and that could be anybody.
That could be anybody.
It could be anybody.
Suspicious.
I agree, and that's what I'm saying about Jeramey. The fact that he was out in the real world, not even showing his real face half the time, liar, manipulator. Yeah. Get him out of here.
He's slippery.
He a little sneaky. And he a liar. Like at the end of the day, had Laura, his fiance, not caught the fact that he was not where he said he was, he would have absolutely carried on that lie until the end of time.
Scary. That's a scary person.
Like that's crazy.
Who goes through all that to lie, to jump through that many hoops?
Doesn't work. So that is that. Scammer. That's number 3. That was 3. Number 2, my number 2 most memorable moment is this moment between another couple, Chelsea and Jimmy. Now, similar to the previous couple, Jimmy was in this sort of love triangle between Chelsea and another girl named Jessica. Now, Jessica, she was a young mother. She's a single mother. And that was a little much for Jimmy. He felt like he didn't know if he wanted to step right into a stepfather role. Totally his choice. So he decided to go with Chelsea. In my opinion, one of the things that also took him over the edge, outside of the fact that Jessica had a child, and that felt like a bit much for him, was the fact that, Chelsea mentioned the fact that her celebrity doppelganger was Megan Fox. That people often told her that she resembled Megan Fox.
Bruh. Did she resemble Megan Fox? Tell the people.
Objectively, there are characteristics. I'm not going to lie. I'm not one of the people who feels like she doesn't look like Megan Fox. From like the top of her nose to the top of her eyebrows, it's giving Megan Fox a little bit. It's giving Megan Fox a little bit. but then the full package isn't giving Megan Fox. And I think she's not Megan Fox. Okay. And I also think on a show like Love is Blind, you are kicking yourself in the butt yourself if you're going to talk about how you look. That defeats the whole purpose. Like, this man now has an idea of who you are. Now, granted, you have some features similar to Megan Fox, but you're taller, you're curvier, you don't have the same exact hair. Like, you don't.
The head shape, everything is different.
Everything is different outside of your eyes and your eyebrows, girl. Why would you say that?
And who says who says that about themselves? That's also a weird thing to say.
like what?
If you look like a very attractive, like a celebrity that's known for their image.
Yep.
I don't think you're the one to say that. I think other people can say whatever they want about who you look like and who you resemble, but it is very weird to say who you look like, especially if you don't really look exactly like them.
Yeah. And so when Jimmy sees her, because after he proposes to her, they get a chance to see each other.
Yeah.
He sees her and his immediate response is, ah. Oh, like it's more of a, ah. And he even says to the camera in his kind of like confessional moment that she lied a little bit. She said she looked like Megan Fox and I died.
Which is why you don't say that.
Like, don't say that.
Let other people say stuff like that about you, but don't say that yourself.
So she
and there was this like infamous moment when they hug and he's looking into the camera
with like deadpan eyes.
He breaks the third wall and is just like into the camera.
Poor Jimmy. But Jimmy and Chelsea, as you can imagine, the same as Laura and Jeramey, do not make it down the aisle, which is fine because they didn't need to.
I remember they had some challenges, they bumped heads a bit, and I remember him expressing that he felt like she was a bit clingy. You know, what I was reading from her was huge victim vibes, like huge. Her victim saboteurs were like on fire. Like every moment, every argument, it always came off of like a why me, like why are you doing this to me, as if like he can't have his own feelings on his own, and then not necessarily be at your detriment, you know?
I fully agree. I don't think he felt like he could communicate to her. And the victimhood became manipulative. It's a manipulative thing, and it's also a learned behavior. I'm curious how long Chelsea has been using that tactic to get what she wants. And it also, I mean, ultimately they broke up because one of the kind of straws that broke the camel back is that Jimmy had told Chelsea in a moment of secrecy that, hey, one of the friends that you've met or going to meet is someone that I've had an intimate relationship with, but we're just friends now. But he did not want that to be on camera because obviously that's his friend's business as well.
He explicitly
said, I do not want to share. Yeah. And she, in a moment of her insecurity, in order to manipulate him back into the relationship, she's like, well, I mean, you did have sex with her and you told me you had sex with her. And she says this on television in the middle of this argument. And that was like it for Jimmy. And I don't blame him. So
he doesn't feel safe.
He doesn't feel safe with her. He doesn't trust her. So they didn't work out. And that was one of the biggest moments in the show for me as well. And I think a learning lesson. If you want to be with someone, they've got to trust you. What's the point of being in a relationship with someone that is going to manipulate your emotions to their benefit and that you can't even trust with your like closest secrets? Like you might as well be sleeping with the enemy.
Yeah. And that brings back to a bar. There's many iterations of this line of like the idea is like, don't argue to win, argue to, aim to communicate. Yeah. Like, and it was giving a lot of, I just want to win the argument. Agreed. I just want to win this connection. Yep. I just want to win as opposed to I truly want to understand and communicate with each other.
So that's Jimmy and Chelsea.
Stop trying to win, y'all.
Yeah, don't try to win. No one wins at the end of the day with that sort of tactic. And last but not least, this couple has the internet on fire for a number of reasons, but it is AD and Clay.
I was rooting for them.
I was too. Number one, because Black love. Number two, because I just felt like I wanted to see it. Like I wanted to. They had some similarities. Like they both were entrepreneurs. They both were around the same age. Being in similar age usually works. They seemed to have the same level of hustle. They were both beautiful people.
The vibes were there too.
The vibes were there. There seemed to be some level of attraction there. Amber, Desiree, AD is gorgeous. And so and Clay's a handsome guy. They made a good looking couple. I thought they both seemed to have good maternal figures in their life, which we came to see later on in the episode.
They looked like they had their head on their shoulders.
Yeah, they looked like they were focused. Again, they're in their 30s. I like to see people on these shows that are a little bit more seasoned. When I see 21 and 23-year-olds on this show, I'm like, go live.
Red flag.
Go live. Go live some life. Go have fun. You're supposed to be having fun. So I was really rooting for them.
Yeah.
But one of the red flags about Clay that came out almost every single episode is the fact that he has this childhood trauma around his father being unfaithful to his mother. He, for some reason, knows that his father started cheating on his mom about 7 years into their 24-year marriage.
Okay.
And unfortunately, in one of the biggest parental no-nos and just lapses of judgment I've ever heard in my life, Clay's father would often take him to see his mistresses. So Clay would be present while his father was building and having relationships with other women that weren't his mother, that man's wife. And so Clay, understandably, has quite a bit of trepidation around this idea of what marriage and fidelity actually looks like. He hasn't seen it. And in fact, he's been privy to what, in my opinion, is the game of it all. He's been privy to my dad is saying and doing some things one way, but he's showing up a different way. What does it look like to be authentic in a marriage? I do not know. And I think that's what he really struggles with.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was communicating to AD. I think Clay really wanted to be a husband, but there was something in him that didn't know if he could really do it.
Like show up in the right way.
Yeah, if he could actually show up in the right way. And so they actually made it all the way down to the aisle. Like they made it to the wedding. Even before the wedding, Clay seemed very much positive about it. But then he has this interaction with his father, who he's in the men's groom's kind of waiting room. Dressing room. His father comes in. He's like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting to see you. And they have the most awkward conversation between a father and the son, which the father starts off the conversation sharing, a moment of competitiveness between them.
Yeah.
And then the father starts listing his personal accomplishments and how Clay's accomplishments were a reflection of him and how the father lived vicariously through him. All these are things that he said. And it really was disheartening for me because in that moment, it felt like to me that man didn't know his son.
Yeah. And then it was so obvious that the first thing that Clay says when he sees his dad is, oh, I didn't know you were going to be here.
I didn't expect to see you.
Which is, that's rough.
And so that conversation was sad to me. And so after that moment, it was at that moment that I was like, oh, well, then I'm not sure. Like maybe he's happy to see his dad, but you could see, and even at the end of it, Claire's like, hey, we have drinks here. Do you want to stay for drinks? And his dad like, no, I'm gonna leave. And then the dad just leaves, like just leaves, doesn't hang out, doesn't have a moment with his son, just leaves. And
you could tell there's like not a real relationship there.
Yeah.
To even see your son and start bringing up old accomplishments is kind of like, isn't that technically old news for a parent-son relationship? Wouldn't you, the moment to talk about my track and field highlights and achievements would have been when I did them, and now I'm getting married, we should be talking about other things. And that's what you would expect a father to be talking about. Like, let's talk about what's happening now. So you could tell that there wasn't a lot of communication there simply by the topic of discussion.
And I felt bad for Clay in that moment because I think what I personally would have liked to see was his father be proud of him for making this decision, for choosing well in his wife and, taking this step towards building a family and a legacy for himself. Just like really pouring into him that way. But then I remembered what Clay said his daddy had did. And then I'm like, oh no, well, this man isn't going to do that because this man didn't respect marriage when he was in it. So why would he do it when Clay was about to do the same thing? And so the one thing that I'm going to say about Clay and AD, and I know this is not going to land well, but I'm going to say it anyway. One thing that Clay kept saying was, my father is such a good man. I really admire my father. My father was such a good dad, and I love my father. And I think because we love our parents so much that we are always going to give them that grace, despite the things that they have done. But I am going to say this with as much love as I possibly can, that I do not believe that you get to have the Parent of the Year award or the Best Parent award if you intentionally did not treat the other parent of your child well.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you don't get to say you're a good parent because you showed up to the baseball games, because you gave them money when they needed it, or that you fed them, when spiritually the other parent who had to be present for them was struggling and not doing well because of your intentional decisions.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's their parent.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I wouldn't talk bad about someone I know's parent,
right?
Or I wouldn't intentionally continue to mistreat someone that I know's parent. Oh, that's my homeboy's mom. That's my homeboy's dad.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna give that respect to other people, to like at least be respectful of other people's parents, why aren't we? We should also be doing that for our children and their parent that, you know, you may not be in a relationship with anymore.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, like just that basic respect of like, hey, yo, at the end of the day, that's my mom. At the end of the day, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Like, I think you sometimes see, and I blame Jerry Springer, but Jerry. You know, you see like there's like a drama. You can see like a proliferation of drama between baby mothers and baby fathers, and like that trope. Of people not really respecting each other in that regard. But at the end of the day, like it's at the basic sense. I know some people may not do the right thing. Some people may not show up in the right way, or some people have disappointed each other.
Yeah.
But to that child, that is their parent.
That's their parent.
Let's at least, when communicating with the child about the parent or surrounding the parent, let's at least be decent.
Yeah. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone deserves grace. And again, you can build past those moments. Sure. But I think it's important for parents to recognize, and in Clay's dad's instance, have the opportunity to apologize for the mistakes that were made and tell Clay, look, I didn't do that well. But that doesn't mean you can't, right? I was wrong for doing this. I should not have done that. But you have the opportunity to have a better future than I did, to have a better marriage than I did. And that's what I was hoping his dad would have done in that moment.
And it goes back to what I said earlier about another relationship. I think the dad was mostly trying to win.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of trying to communicate.
Solid. Yeah. And that's a solid observation.
Even when the dad was speaking to the mom, he was still trying to win.
Yeah.
I met you, you know, he needs to get a good woman like I got you. And then she immediately...
the bar of the century.
She immediately corrected him. And I don't know exactly what she said, but she was basically saying that you weren't good to me.
Yeah, she said, well, you found me, but you weren't good to me. And I said,
and then he immediately drops his head, which shows like he was more egocentric or more so trying to win and look like he does good things. People need to be more honest. That's all it boils down to.
Yeah, just be honest, y'all.
Stop
it's easier to be honest.
Lead with your soul, not your ego.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that concludes What's Lex Watching. What's Lex Watching on TV or something like that. We'll figure it out. But honestly, guys, I hope to do this segment more because the reason why I enjoy reality TV and documentaries in general is because I like the sociology behind it. I love the study of people. I love the studies of groups and cultures. And I find so much to pick from in moments like these. And so this is just an example of that. The show itself is entertaining, but I think there's stuff that we can learn from these individuals and their relationships. So I hope you enjoyed. I know a lot of you are watching Love is Blind as well. So let me know your thoughts on the things that I just shared. Did you have the same perspectives on these couples or not? I'd be curious to know. So you guys can leave voice notes on Spotify Podcasters app or on Instagram, YouTube, wherever we are. But I'd be curious to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, for sure.